Hey, I'm Jodi Aman, and I'm about to go on the 5-minute bark, and I'm so excited to spread my message of hope. Because if you feel down, if you feel anxious, if you feel overwhelmed in your life, I'm here to tell you that you can get better. It is totally possible for you to get better, and I'm going to give you the practical steps to see your way through, to release fear, to overcome your anxiety, and to open your heart to love and purpose and awesome things in your life.
And we're back on the 5-Minute Bark podcast here today. And we're excited. I know you guys out there are excited because you're actually listening to the show. So I've got Jodi Aman here on the show today. Did I say that right, Jodi?
Yeah.
All right. She's got a beautiful smile. She's wearing red, my favorite color. So this is going to go great. This is going to be really exciting. And we're going to be talking today about anxiety. And it's something that a lot of people are dealing with in a big way. And in fact, I just saw somebody text me and you heard that ding in the background. That person experienced anxiety in their life and they captured it. But we've got Jodi here today to help you. In fact, you know what? I'm looking at some of her stats here today, and she's dealt with over 20 years, 35 people a week. And I think I came up with a new caption for a website. She told me she's helped 135,000 people. Is that correct?
Yeah. 105,000 people.
105,000. So,
105,000 problems.
Yeah, 105,000problemsolved.com. So let's welcome Jodi here today on the 5-Minute Bark. Jodi, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for having me, Dennis. Great to be here. Great to let people know that they don't have to suffer any longer, and I'm here to help.
No, I want to start off by asking, why the butterflies on the wall behind you?
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, butterfly is such a symbol of transformation. I love metaphors. I think it's really helpful. It's an easy way to speak about our problems. So in therapy, a lot of times we use metaphors to describe how we feel. And the butterfly, obviously, is such a symbol of transformation. You come from the caterpillar, and then you go in your cocoon, you do your inner work, and then you're free, and you get to fly around and be happy and be beautiful like a butterfly. So yeah, I've always had butterflies in my office for that reason. But I like butterflies. I like birds. Birds are a symbol of my business, getting out of that cage, being free, because anxiety is like a prison. It's an awful prison. And there's nothing better than flying.
That's right.
When you think about freedom.
I got butterflies in my stomach right now, but this podcast is going to be really good. So saving lives by helping them fight the anxiety they're dealing with. Let's start off by first you telling the story about why did you doing this, and why did it take over your life? And then after that, we'll get into how you finally got over it.
That's great. Good? I would love to tell you. I'd love to tell you because I was introduced to anxiety when I was just 5 years old. Just a little 5-year-old, totally innocent, happy little girl who learned about the presidents that day. And when I came home, I asked my father, in February, you learn about the President's Day, you learn about Washington and Lincoln, right? So I learned about them. I was so happy and everything's great. And then I was like, Dad, where are the presidents now? Where are the presidents now? And he paused and he said, they're dead. And I was like, what's dead? I really was still so innocent. I mean, the world was my oyster. I mean, I was so happy. And he said, we all die. You fall asleep forever. I mean, something horrible to say to kids, right? So scary. But I could see his face. His face was pale. His neck was really long. He was terrified. And I knew death was a bad thing. And then I started to panic. And actually, as that 5-year-old, I panicked for months. I couldn't be alone. I lost a third of my body weight. I was so terrified because I realized that if we could lose our security, like if we could lose ourselves, lose our lives, or lose someone we loved, then we really never had security in the first place. And I just felt so vulnerable. And panic just took over in my life and it came and went in my life for 20 years. I didn't even know what it was. Like I hear this a lot when you first you don't even know what it is. You don't even understand it until it starts happening to you. And then it's terrifying. And I didn't know I had any control. I was always running away from it. And so it wasn't until my mid-20s, I was already a social worker at this time. When I was in high school, I was so depressed from all this anxiety. I just felt so alone. No one understood me. And so I started to volunteer. and help other people. And that's when I felt the best. And I figured, you know what? People need someone to be with them like I did. I wanted people to understand me so bad. And so I saw how I could change people's lives by being with them, by walking with them in their pain. And so as a high schooler and starting to volunteering, I decided to be a social worker when I grew up. And I did. So in my mid-20s, I'm a social worker. I'm working in a psychiatric center. And every week we get together with the whole staff and we talk about our hardest cases. And so week after week, people were talking about their clients or their patients with anxiety. You know, they can't leave their house, they're picking their face, they can't make decisions, you know, they can't do anything with their wife. And I just started to get this sinking feeling over and over again that like, I am so much worse. Like I couldn't even get out of bed sometimes, you know, and I'm so much worse and I'm supposed to be one helping people and I'm worse than their worst cases. So this one day I got such panicked and I started to kind of lose control and I decided I had to get out of there. Of course, I'm always running. I was always running away. And so I backed out of the room, tried to pretend like it was okay. I thought everyone's looking at you and thinks you're crazy. But when I got into the hall, I started to walk quick and I got to the stairs, sped down, flew into my car. And I went to back out of the parking spot. And I looked at myself in the rear view mirror. You know what I saw? I saw a pale face with a really long neck, just like my dad when I was 5. And I took a breath and I looked at myself again and I saw his fear in his eyes in mine. And I said, if I could learn that, then I could unlearn it. And I realized I learned that and I could unlearn it. And so I set my sights. Like, I got to figure this out. I'm not going to put my family, my husband, my kids through this life limited by anxiety because I couldn't do things that, you know, regular people could do. And so I decided I got to figure it out. And because I had to do it all on my own and figure it out from scratch, it did take me a while. It took me a couple of years, but I completely cured myself of anxiety. And since then, that was 20 years ago now. And since then, I've been helping people in my psychotherapy practice with the same steps, get over their anxiety. And I thought, well, let me give, you know, instead of one person an hour, let me do videos and get it to more people. Let me write a book and get the message out there because there are so many people suffering. They say there's 40 million Americans suffering from anxiety. I think it's much higher. I think it's much, much higher. I mean, it feels like everyone I know has some issues. And anxiety is a weird problem because first of all, it comes with all other problems. And second of all, it looks different in different people. And people think about it differently and call it different stuff. But helping it is all the same. You do it the same way. So that's kind of interesting.
So what I'm getting is just hearing and visualizing all this is anxiety is basically, to try to be short and simple about it, and correct me if I'm wrong because you're much more in tune to this, is the loss of something, loss of love, the loss of something in life. And you're like, don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my wife. I don't want to lose my child or my family or somebody. I don't want to lose it. And it's like, oh my God.
That's the fear of being out of control, right? You have no control over that, whether you lose it or not. So you're really talking about anxiety. My definition for anxiety is a leftover fear response when you're not in physical danger. So you feel helpless and you feel out of control and you feel really upset and scared, but you're not in any physical danger. Just the fear of the feeling is perpetuating it. That's anxiety.
It's almost like living in your head, not living in life. Because like you said, you're not gonna die from something happening, you know?
Exactly. It's the meaning we're making around it. Yeah. So we are people with anxiety are very creative people. They're very intelligent people. And you need all that because you need a really vivid imagination, right? To continue to go down that rabbit hole of the mind and build that anxiety up. I mean, we have anxiety, then we have anxiety about our anxiety, then we're worried about that, then we judge ourselves. I mean, it gets huge. It just gets huge.
It does. So tell me more about some steps that you took. I mean, obviously you cured yourself of this and you took some steps. What are the very first steps besides the realization of it, right? that you took that maybe somebody that's listening or watching right now can consider?
Yeah. Well, I had to understand anxiety. It's like if you don't know it, then it really has a lot more power, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But when you get to know it, and when I say I understand it better, like my first step in helping someone get over anxiety is understand it biologically. What is really going on in the brain, the neuroscience of it? It's not complicated at all, what I teach, but it is so relieving. Because first of all, it takes all the self-judgment away. And second of all, it shows you exactly what you have to do, why it's so hard. So it's validating. And then what you have to do to move forward. Like what is actually going on in the brain so you could see it. When you know it's that release of hormones, or when you understand it, that it's just not as scary. It's not as scary. And that's always the first step that I take people through, is how to understand it biologically. It's like I'm doing an expose on anxiety.
I can see how you're a great healer of anxiety just talking to you right now. Just that smile right there just comes out, and it just switches the energy right away. And I bet your clients see that a lot. I mean, I interview a lot of people, so I read people pretty good.
Yeah, they have so much, for so long they've tried everything and they just don't think it's possible. And so sad. It's such a loss that they are not going to be able to get over their anxiety. And so when they hear me talk, they're like, wait a minute, maybe. And they read and people are reading my book and have anxiety for 20 years and they're better just by reading the book.
Good.
It's just this information. And they're like, why didn't anyone tell me this stuff? I'm like, I don't know. They've been a psychiatrist for 13 years and no one told them this stuff. I don't know why. It's kind of crazy. It's so helpful. Absolutely.
It is. And being anxiety free can help you grow more as a person. Right. And so let's talk about that. Obviously you've grown your business off of it, right? It's expanded your business. What else has it grown in your life?
Well, I think we're all here. We have a purpose in our life. We're all here to do something. And anxiety really stops us from that. Yep. It also keeps us from relationships. It keeps us isolating ourselves to try to protect ourselves. And so we miss out on so much. And so because I've been able to put my attention into my life purpose and my mission to really get this message out there to help as many people as I can, I'm so grateful for that. If I didn't volunteer for charities, and if I didn't do this work and reach out to people and do this therapy, I probably would be in my head a lot more, in my own head. And sometimes living out your purpose, like your soul is happy. And when your soul is happy, then, life is a lot easier and you're not so afraid of relationships, because you can handle whatever happens. Yep. And so you're not so afraid of it anymore. And it really makes so much possible if you're able to push past your anxiety to that adventure beyond, that adventure that your life can be.
It's funny because you have those people out there, right, that you just see and there's just going through the craziest things, and like there's a chain reaction of them, and then just mow right through them. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. I mean, like, dude, I'll be jumping off a bridge, you like, maybe on anxiety overload, but these people just kind of, hey, this is life, I mean, don't worry about it. I mean, don't worry for me. I'm fine. They just kind of don't take on that anxiety about it. Don't read into it, right. and it just move through it. Cause we're going to be going through difficult times. There's death and taxes, as they say, there's, the bad times, the hard times, losing a job, losing a relationship.
Right.
It happens. It just happens, and if you just sit there and go, well, I don't want it to happen to me. I don't want it to resist. I always kind of use the visualization,
it's out of control.
The visualization of a dam trying to stop water. You're just not going to stop water. It's going to find a crack eventually. You can hold it for a long time, but it's going to explode. And it's just if you understand that, you can try to trap it and try to control people and try to control your life and control, but it's a wearing life.
It's really a pseudo sense of control, right? You really don't have control.
Right.
But I teach people that really you have 100% of control of the thing that matters the most. You have 100% control of your response. So you can control what anyone else does, or like natural disasters or something, but you can control how you respond to it, like how you think about it, how you make meaning on it, like what actions you take, what you do in those relationships. You have 100% of control. So we're so worried about like, how do I surrender? How do I let go of control? Forget about that. Forget about letting go of control. Embrace that you have 100% of control. Now, your response, how you think about something, how you make meaning, how you act, how you think about yourself after it, that's going to make the biggest difference in your life. How happy your life is, how good your relationships are, how good you feel about yourself. Your response means more than anything else out there.
Yep.
And so that's the difference. Like, people could have horrible things happen to them and be okay. And other people could have horrible things happen to them and not be okay because they keep reliving it.
Yep.
Or they're scared they're not going to be able to handle it if something happens again. They just feel so vulnerable. And we get it. Like, we could have compassion. We understand that. But I help those people see, because it's like, we go on Facebook and we hear like, you have a choice to be happy. And people just want to punch you in the face. They'll do anything to be happy, and they just don't have access to it. And it makes them feel worse about themselves. So really the problem is they're judging themselves too much to be able to get that in, right? To be able to hear that and understand what that means to choose happiness. And so I walk people through that self-compassion piece that they need first. They need so much first to really understand. Then, and only then, they could see how they can make different choices. It's very powerful. Very important.
Yeah, very, very important. And, you've been doing this for 20 years now. You've got a lot of experience. You've heard it all, done it all.
Done it all.
Yeah. And you're
heard it all.
And you want more, don't you? You want to come on podcasts, get more people, huh? You want to just take on the world, don't you?
Well, you know what? If I could help somebody, I do want to. I have programs. Like, I have 6 online programs that help people with anxiety. I have a driving one, a flying one, a kids one, an adult one, and I have a coaching program. And I'm just for the first time having this 5-day retreat in June. So I'm so excited being able to serve in this way to a larger group of people, because people are desperate and so wanting help. They've been anxious for 10 years. I have my coaching group this morning, and I was talking to them, and they were, they've been suffering so long, and it is like the littlest tweak that I could say that helps them feel better. And it's like, why didn't anyone tell these poor people have been suffering so long? So it's just really amazing
to be able to help people.
I got to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I got to keep doing it.
Well, you're doing a good job of it. I can tell you're definitely very passionate about this. You're very exciting about it. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the programs you've got going on. Maybe there's something you want people to attend or want to encourage them to attend coming up. This one thing you're talking about in June.
Yeah, I offer something for everyone. Some people just want to work one-on-one. I still do that. Some people just want an online program so they could listen to my meditations, or they could watch the videos, and they could, read and do the exercises. Some people like a book. That's how they learn, or it's how they're helpful at their own pace. Some people want to work in a group because that tribe helps them so much. Like, other people understand, they start to connect and really love each other and helping each other. The groups are amazing for that. And they get personal help. And then being live with me, of course, there's nothing like it. I've been doing retreats for many, many years now, and they're just it's just such a powerful way, because you get out of your own context of your life.
Yeah.
You take a break, and you're in this really safe setting with other people who are open and ready. And so the synergy of that is amazing, and it helps people heal. And I've studied shamanism. I'm a shamanic practitioner. I'm an herbalist. I'm a psychotherapist. So I really take all kinds of ways to help people get better. So, and it depends on the person. Sometimes people walk in the room and I just kind of say, tell me what this person needs.
Yeah.
And then I just do what I feel is right. So, everyone needs, some people need to turn left, some people need to turn right. So I have something for everybody.
Yeah.
And then I have a lot of free stuff out there to get to know me.
Yeah. You're making me kind of think of that movie, Good Will Hunting. He's just so patient with that young kid, Matt Damon at the time. And then, he just kind of let him beat him up, so to speak. And then he came back with a big punch, and then knocked him out, Do you ever kind of use that kind of tactic, so to speak? Not punching people, but, this kind of, they come in, they just want to be all anxiety. They want to just be in it and they want to relish in it. And then you just let it happen and then just snap them out of it.
Yeah. Well, there's this balance between getting out stuff that you don't want and bringing in the things you do want. And so I'm always striking that balance a little bit. Sometimes people have to, get it out by talking. And then sometimes you could talk yourself worse. Yep. So it's not always helpful to keep talking and keep talking and keep talking and keep talking.
They love it.
Sometimes you stay in that problem, right? You're defending the problem. It's growing for you. You're making more of a story about it. So there's always that balance. Like sometimes people have to get it out. And then sometimes people have to bring in those new skills, and that's what my book does. Like first I teach people about it biologically. Then, I release the problem by breaking down the power of anxiety so people could get it out, feel really understood, have a lot of compassion. And then we bring in the skills that they have, and so it's constantly this, let people release, bring in what you got to bring in.
Yep. Put some spots right in there, put a little confidence in right there, a little smile action right there. You can smile this way, throw it all in there and give them a good package, and they walk away and everybody's happy.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think I just reflect back the good in people, right? Mm-hmm. So that I'm just like reflecting surface. Actually, I'm a narrative therapist. So that's what we're taught to do is people talk to us and we reflect back the good, the skills, the amazingness of them. And we reflect that back. And it's really powerful. It's really powerful.
Yeah. I just read this book. It's actually nothing to do with anything, but it's actually to do with everything. It's called .com Secrets. It's about marketing on the internet. I highly recommend the book to anybody. It's just absolutely amazing.
Cool.
I mean, it's about, sales and so on and so forth. But one of the things they talk about enough that I've never done in my life. I mean, I've been a professional athlete, traveled the world, had businesses, sold businesses, done a podcast, done a lot of successful things. But the problem I did most was I didn't learn my story. I didn't learn how to tell my story. I didn't learn how to be my story. I grew up in Boston where you don't brag, you don't promote, you don't.
Yeah.
And everybody would always be like, hey, this guy, he's been around the world. And I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk, I've been like pushing it down. But these people that have anxiety probably are stuck in that story, their own story as well. And they need to get a new story to talk about,
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I do. We break down that problem story and build up that alternate story, that's the preferred story about who they are, their values, what's important to them, their commitments, their life purpose. And we build up that other story. And so that's what I've been doing for 20 years, like deconstructing the problem and constructing the you that you want to be.
And then a lot of times they don't even know they're telling the story. It'd be almost like great to have like a little microscopic camera here with you could record it and like show them back what they look like when they're telling their story, and they'd be like, that's me,
Yeah. I mean, people defend their problems.
Yeah. But you don't know it.
They defend them all day.
And I'll be guilty of that. We all do it. And,
Me too.
But yeah, we have to have somebody like you in our lives. Coaches and, are everywhere. You need them in everything. I mean, I remember when I really liked a girl, I had to have a friend help me text because I only want to say the right things because you're so involved in the emotions of it, you know, right? You're just like, you're just so caught up, and you're like, he's like, just say this. I'm like, but she's not going to like that. No. And all of a sudden she laughs, and, so it's like you get so involved, it's just funny.
He's got that distance. He can do that.
Yeah, you can. I mean, that's how a lot of people make millions of dollars is they don't care. It's like, you want me? Great. If you don't worry about it. And they just move on. But we're like, I want the deal. And then you smother it, you smother ourselves, you smother our lives, and bring that thing called anxiety in. So awesome. Jodi, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been great.
You're welcome.
This has been a great smile and great knowledge. How can people reach out to you that have heard your amazing story today? And if they want to be among those 35 people a week for 20 years, the 105,000 people you've worked with, how do we get that to 106,000?
Yeah. Well, you can come over to jodiaman.com and you can find out all about me there. There's ways to work with me, and there's my programs. If you text the word test, T-E-S-T, like test, to 131, I don't think you need the 315-800-JODI. If you text that to me, I will send you an anxiety test to see how bad your anxiety is and give you an email with tons of tips for those things, for those markers, and how to feel better, how to get yourself better. And so text test 315-800-JODI.
Perfect. I was going to say, repeat it. You already did.
That's the best way to like get introduced to me, get tips right away that will really help you move the anxiety out of your life.
That's awesome. You heard of everybody. This is amazing. She came on the show, shared a lot about anxiety. We all deal with it, dealt with it, always going to have it. Someone around, we got to kind of deal with it and work through it. Hopefully you can reach out to Jodi and she can make your life a better place to live in. It'd be awesome.
Yes.
So,
awesome. I'm here to help that you want to be shine through.
Awesome. Jodi, thank you. Listeners, thank you for listening here today. It's amazing to have you listening. You know, when you turn this microphone on every day, you don't know who's going to be listening. I remember my first podcast. I'm like, who in the world is going to listen to me? And so we've got thousands of people listening, and that's great. And today they're listening to Jodi. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, talk to you again, Dennis. Thank you.
Bye, Jodi. Bye, listeners. 5minutebark.com. You're watching the 5 Minute Bark podcast on YouTube. If you like this episode, you just may like many more. Subscribe today by clicking the red subscribe button in the top right-hand corner.